Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Disco Elysium. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you're chose to join me today, having a chat with Kim Kitsuragi in the outside, because we are about to turn in for the night, and we have drugs in our pocket, and we have a level up in our pocket as well, so many good things. I think the day went relatively well, considering that I was very scared halfway through, that the time was just ticking by. The air outside is brisk. The lieutenant is silent for a moment. He listens to the traffic hum, and then...
Now then, we should talk about the investigation, but I also feel you're a bit hazy on the RCM. Our role here, our rights, our jurisdiction, basically.
I didn't know you smoked, Kim. I have a cigarette every night when I go over my notes. It's something of a ritual. Oh man, he looks so devastatingly cool with that cigarette, says our electrochemistry. I thought it would be another skill that said that, but it is our electrochemistry that says it. I think it's because it's a drug in our... Yeah, that's probably what it's supposed to be. And by a drug, I mean, I literally do mean nicotine. That's all I mean. I don't mean that he's smoking pot or anything, like, because you can have... What is the... There's a term for, like, when you have a cigarette and you just, you put drugs in it. All I know is pot. I think you... Is it lined? Lined cigarette? It's got a name. Like anyway, it doesn't matter. He's smoking a cigarette. I think I might want to pick up smoking. Do you have any more cigarettes? No, I definitely don't want to pick up smoking. I had to scramble to get my money to pay for the room. I am definitely not gonna... I mean, unless they're cheap, dirt cheap, like they used to be. I assume back in the 50s or something. But how'd you get so cool, Kim? I'm gonna ask. The light of his cigarette illustrates a fleeting smile. You mean this? He flicks the ash. This isn't cool. It's an unnecessary trial of will, and unhealthy. Keeping the habit, our volition says, within the parameters he's given himself takes a lot of focus. Interesting. I wonder if there are actually... Oh, there probably are people that do it like he is doing. That is a test. His only cigarette. Something that is addictive, but it's like... Yeah, it's really... And, he just takes one every day. So it's something he looks forward to, I assume. But also... It's a really interesting thing. It says a lot about his personality, really, more than a lot of other things would say about somebody's personality. Let's just say that I am not that kind of person that would do something like this. I don't smoke either, but anyway, it would be easier to simply quit. Would it? I suppose. I mean, yeah, because it's the test of will is the smoke, is the smoking. Our composer says, yet were he to quit, he would lose the cool factor. This man Kim wouldn't lose the cool factor. Anyway, this man relishes his cool quite a bit below it all. That's a bit of an insight right there. Yeah. Anyway, right then, the debrief. Yes, he pulls on the cigarette. It's been a long and eventful day. Drags on the cigarette, I think. Maybe? I don't know. Pulls a drag? Does that work? How do you think today went? I'm gonna ask. And he raises his eyebrows. Well, we didn't even look at the body. We did? What do you mean we didn't look at the body? There's gotta be a way to bring the body down. I just didn't... I couldn't do it. I don't know how that's supposed to be done. But that's more from a gameplay perspective than from an actual decision. So, I hope it's not like a big thing, because I just didn't figure out how to bring the body down. But we performed a thorough search of the premises of the crime scene. That's great. Though you really dropped the ball on inspecting the body, says our empathy. He doesn't want you to feel too discouraged, probably out of fear that you'll just give up and keep drinking. I'm gonna ignore that. We did all the good things. Yeah, put my problems in the dustbin. I don't need to face them. Yeah, ignore, absolutely. We did not do any problems with not inspecting the body. Let's see what I can choose. Don't worry, Kim, I'll totally be up for inspecting the body tomorrow. I generally prefer to start with searching the scene and then move on to dealing with dead bodies. I'm sorry I couldn't do more today. I'm just not... Oh, self-pity. Could that sort of works? Let's go with self-pity. Let's go with self-pity over here. I'm sorry I couldn't do more today. I'm just not a very good cop, am I? He sighs. We're both doing our best under the circumstances, he says. Just don't drink tonight, please. As for the interviews... We conducted an interview with Evart Claire. Actually, I am gonna make my character think poorly of himself, because there's a lot to play on for that. Specifically with just, you know, all the mess that he's done before he lost his memory. So, you know, for somebody to just find, oh, I'm an alcoholic, and I apparently am estranged from my family, if I even have some. And, you know, there's a lot of things that you can pick on and just be like, my life needs a lot of improvement. But the thing is, like, I think for me as a player, I think there's a lot of also other things that you can look on and just, this guy's pretty good. There's a lot of little lines here and there when we succeed at things that say that we're good at our job. So specifically in this not being a very good cop, I don't think that's true personally, but our character can think that. Anyway, Kim says, we conducted an interview with Evart Claire. Yeah, that's my biggest success, actually. Just in the nick of time as well. It wasn't particularly forthcoming with useful information, however, says Kim. Yeah, and the chair almost killed me. Can I say that? I'm sure I can get him to tell us more. I'm a little intimidated by him, honestly. He has stuff on me. Let's go with this one. He's a tough cookie, that one. Well, he frowns. We will have to work through that. Claire also helped you. How should... It just throws me off that he's referring to him as the... It throws me off so much. How should I say? Remember your name? That's a relief. I don't actually know how I feel about my name. That's normal, says Kim. It's best not to give it too much thought. Kim must have had doubts about his name at some point too, says our empathy. A challenging success. Are we supposed to take this at face value then? But deliberately discarded them. No. For sure this is not a face value. For sure this is not a thing that we are actually having an insight into his character. That he has had doubts about his name. That's just our gut feeling. Right? Because it would be, I mean, but for it to be a challenging success and be a gut feeling, that's interesting. Well, looking at the options, I think it is a canonical thing. Have you ever wanted to change your name, Kim? Change? No, not exactly. But I think all of us at some point imagine what our lives might be, or might have been, had we been something else. And then we feel trapped by the names we've been given, as symbols of the intentions and expectations of others. He pulls a long, pensive drag. Even if I were... Then that's how it is. I wasn't sure about how it was said. It is to pull a drag. Even if I were to change my name now upon hearing any syllable that sounds like Kim in the streets, I'd turn to see who was calling me. But let's talk about Joyce Messier for a moment. Yeah, I don't like her name. Or, no, actually, Joyce is not a bad name. Messier, I'm not sure about that. Also could be the German word, which would be pronounced differently, and I don't know. Messier? Messier. I'm not sure how to pronounce that in German, but I think that is a surname like that in German. That might come from French, because it's all close. Yeah, we tried to interview her, but she asked us to do something for her first. Kim purses his lips. I have a feeling Joyce knows how dangerous the situation really is. We have to get her to talk to us. Above all, though, today was exhausting. That's with all the running. You run a lot. Is that standard Precinct 41 practice? Well, are you serious? Is that really a thing that you're asking me right now, Kim? I don't like wasting time. That's, Now that applies to me as well, not just my character. You know, mine moves fast, and the rest is to try to keep up. He nods thoughtfully, tapping his finger on his cigarette. It's impressive, especially for a man your age, and in those hills. Wait, my shoes are amazing. He looks at your snakeskin shoes and smiles suddenly. Nice shoes, by the way. I like the green. Goes with the orange. Does it? I don't... think he does. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. The green is 120 degrees on the colors wheel. The orange is sort of on the opposite. He might. I'm not very good on color theory, though. Well, it depends on what kind of green it is as well. Because if you go down to the... actually, the moment you get down to the 100 degrees, you're starting to get to yellow already. I think the green goes up a little bit more towards the other side. So, yeah, green and blue for me is just... Those work a little bit better than the yellow. Because they're kind of close. There's nothing in between. So, does that work? I'm not sure. Anyway, maybe if you balance them with a little bit of purple. Yeah. No. It's not purple, is it? That doesn't sound right. That does not sound right. But I think there's another... I think it is possible to balance... green with... green and yellow with another color. Anyway, so what are our powers exactly? The RCM? And I think that's supposed to be our jurisdiction. Kim says, they're quite limited, actually. The power officers of the Ravachol Citizens Militia exercise most frequently is imposing fines of up to 1,000 real for offenses in accordance with an interdepartmental schedule. 1,000, why not more? The RCM's primary role is to ensure safety. We're not really supposed to play any part in the economic structure of Ravachol. I'm sure you're going to be playing a lot of parts with a fine of that size, that's for sure. Is that him? Does he actually believe that? Or is that just the company line? Not company, sorry, I suppose the policy line. Because even fines of, like, any sort of, well, no fines whatsoever will still have an impact on the economic structure of the people, depending on how the policing is done. But a fine of 1,000, that seems like a lot. That seems like almost a month's, well, maybe not a month, but maybe a week's pay for somebody with just very limited knowledge about how much things cost in here. Maybe a week's pay, maybe even if it is a day's pay. Like I wouldn't want to pay. Actually, I wouldn't. Like I think it may throw my economics into disarray if I had to pay every once in a while, if I had to pay a fine of 1 day's work. Depends on how things are. If people are just extracted of all their value all day, every day by the system, then they're left with nothing at the end of the month. Then yeah, if you lose even a buck, it's gonna be, it might mean you don't eat that day or something. I don't know. For some people, that's for sure the case, and I don't think Ravachol is short on those sort of people, unfortunately. Wouldn't that be an easy power to abuse? I'm gonna ask. Yes, says Kim, although indirectly, as citizens can always request records from their local station. Officers of the RCM have been known to take bribes of less than the prescribed fine amount. He frowns. It undermines trust in the RCM. Hiccup. I'm sure it undermines trust in a lot of other things as well. But anyway, Kim, okay, can we continue? What else? And he says, we can arrest people, of course, but rather than bringing someone in directly, it's preferable to serve a station call slip. It prevents confusion and overcrowding. And I see, and if someone resists? As you may have gathered from the fact that we are expected to carry a record of our kills, like the one in your watermarks, we're permitted to use whatever force is necessary and strongly admonished not to abuse the power, or that power. What happens to the people we convict? We don't convict. Yeah, I think that's the jury or judge or whatever. We arrest and send them to the coalition. Oh yeah, to coalition government courts in Coron and La Delta. The prosecution works off our testimonies and records, which is why it's paramount to keep them. He taps on his coat pocket where he keeps his notes. Wait, so if I kill someone while on duty, you have to supply compelling evidence for why it was necessary to use lethal force. In these cases, your partner is usually your witness. Not a good position to be in, by the way. Internal Affairs handles these cases thoroughly, and by cross-examining you for inconsistencies, it is hard to cover for anyone, which is for the best. Well, that's reassuring. And who makes all these rules? The coalition government, and the moral intern, more broadly. The RCM was formed by the coalition government to restore order in the international zone after the revolution. I don't know why I give it Anyway, so we did, he says. Now we attempt to maintain that order. No more, no less. His gaze is absently fixed on a window below that just went dark. Or perhaps it is better to say we were allowed to form. It's a point of contention whether the citizens of Ravachol or the coalition government founded the RCM. So I would say we were allowed to form if it was the citizens who formed it and it was allowed by the government. Or is it the other way around? Let's say it was the citizens of Ravachol. Be sentimental if you like. Either way, the moral intern leases us the right to keep the peace in this city, and they will take it away if we misuse it. What is the moral intern? The Moralist International are the world's largest political organization. He pulls on his cigarette. You know who they are? They run this place after the revolution failed. Yeah, I really don't know. That's how bad it is in here, and I'm gonna point to my head. Okay, they're a union of center-left and center-right parties across the Real Belt. Our coalition government is just one of its many projects. They also run the ICP, the EPIs, most intergovernmental organizations in the world. It warrants mentioning that saying something is center left or center right literally means nothing without context. Even in real world, depending on which country you're in, they say I'm center left. You might be right in another country or vice versa, although usually not. I suppose it's just meant to mimic a little bit of our, maybe just probably European politics, because, you know, the developers are European, and of course from an ex-USSR, that's the word, an ex-USSR country as well. So they probably is in that department, but we wouldn't know. Probably is in those realms of what it would be in Europe, but we don't know just from this. The game isn't actually telling us. But I guess we'll find out maybe. What they believe in. What do they believe in? They're Dolorians. They believe they continue the humanist project set forth by Her Innocence Dolores Days 4 centuries ago. Others say they're just technocrats. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what technocrat means. I have learned what bureaucrat means in the context of the Soviet Union, which has to do with well, it's kind of complicated. There's a lot to be said about that particular word and the reasons why it's used and the reasons why people disliked it and the people who did like it, the reasons why they did like it. But basically, bureaucracy in the context of the Soviet Union has to do with the erasure of individuality, in favor of the bureau. But at the same time, and this is where it gets complicated, it has to do as well with the fact that the bureau is selected, so it's not accountable, and that's how you get true bureaucracy. I feel. I'm not really sure. I feel in regards to the Soviet Union, and of course we're talking in context here. It depends on other countries, but the fact that you have a bureau that is not accountable to the people or to whoever their power is supposed to be in. I mean, if it's a dictatorship or whatever, it's still the same principle, I suppose. But if you have a bureau that is not accountable, then you have bureaucracy, because that's where the power is. The problem is even saying it like this, even though I think it represents more or less what happened during the second part of the 20th century in the USSR. It still doesn't say all the things, and it's certainly for me, being somebody who didn't live in that era, and certainly not in that area, I can't. It's just I can only glean some meaning, but yeah. As for technocrats, though, I think it might be related. The term bureaucrat, though, is an interesting thing, because the term itself is used in a sort of different way, in regards to the USSR, is used in a different way than what it literally means, because a bureaucrat is just literally somebody who employs the power of the bureau, and is not necessarily the person who has the power of the bureau. So it can be somebody who, for example, just takes notes, and you're a bureaucrat because you're doing the bureaucracy. You just take notes for the bureau. You're a bureaucrat. That's literally what you are. But of course, saying it like that is in a very strict, literal way. That's not, really talking about what it actually means, that word. So I assume maybe technocrat doesn't mean either. I know techno has to do with technology, but it might have something else to do, or something. Might have something other than that. I've heard this term, but I don't know what it means. That's all to say that at the end of the day. What is their symbol, I'm going to say? Ooh, symbols. Symbols are such a fascinating thing. Especially in the context of political meaning. And especially the further on you get to both sides of the spectrum. And not just both sides, actually in regards to authoritarianism and as well as libertarianism, if you go the other axis, I suppose, you'll still have to grip with symbols as a contention point, which is really let's see what happens. Interesting question, says Kim. It was right. I like him. It's a blue forget-me-not. A forget-me-not. Is that a dandelion? Is that the same thing? I don't know what it is. The flowers have different names, even inside the same country, let alone between the languages. Their motto is love, compassion, self-discipline. I think you can gauge what they want you to think them from that. No, yeah. So the blue forget-me-not. The blue is usually a color of center-left, I think. Or is that the yellow? No, the blue is... Yeah, it's the yellow and blue. They're traditionally colors of center-left and center-right. I think the blue is center-right, yellow is center-left. But of course, that doesn't mean anything, because it doesn't mean anything, because what is center-left? Some center-left parties have very right-wing attitudes in certain countries at certain times in history, so it's just... And vice versa, I suppose. I mean, let's just put it like that. But I think that's what it comes from. The forget-me-not, though, it might be an allusion to the rose, which is a socialist symbol? Is it? Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Is it socialist specifically, though? I don't know. Here in Portugal, our socialist party is red, the color. No, it's pink. Sorry, not red. The red is the Communist Party. That's right. We have the Communist Party, Left Bloc, and those are the three major parties, and the Socialist Party. Actually, sorry, three of the four major parties. Then we have the Social Democrats. Is that how it's translated? Probably. Social Democrats are just an arrow, and I think they're orange, the color. But my point is, the Socialist Party here has a rose, and I think the Labour Party in the UK also has a rose. So it might be a reference to that. I don't know. And love, compassion, and self-discipline is just, I have no idea. This is a very bland, maybe that is the point. It's just sort of mushy sort of, let's just status quo it all up. Ooh. Anyway, I think you can gauge what they want you to think. He says something almost self-explanatory, says our logic. Our inland empire says something ominous. I don't know. Who was Dolores Day? A historic figure, asks Kim. The author of The Modern Age? He asks again. He thinks, you will have to look elsewhere for opinions. The subject of humanism is too abstract for me. Humanism? The word might change, though. There's a lot of words, specifically in isms, that change in meaning across the ages. And especially because this was like 400 years ago or something. Didn't he say that? Yeah, 4 centuries ago. Humanism, I think, is the rejection of in an historical context, in the real historical context. You can, of course, look it up on Wikipedia. It is a movement in the 18th or maybe 17th century. The roots might be even earlier than that. That basically rejected the powers of gods and just sort of it was a precursor to the sort of the Illuminism. Or maybe it was vice versa. Maybe Illuminism was the precursor to humanism, but it is related in the sense that during that time, Europe in particular, and of course humanism in the context of Europe, because if you start looking at other areas of the world and you see this sort of philosophy even thousands of years back, and just sort of goes back and forth, because anyway, the point is humanism is related to the rise of science as a center for or as the focus point for knowledge and for sort of our rules and sort of our way of thinking about the world, where before it wasn't human because it was more centered on God. Basically, it was like theism. Humanism comes in opposition to that, I suppose. Not that, of course, people still kept thinking, "Oh man, we're gonna freeze to death out here." People kept thinking that, "Are we gonna freeze to death?" Some people kept thinking about gods as their center of life, and that's totally fine. It's just not, this is a movement, a larger movement. So what do you think of them, I'm gonna ask? The moral intern are a fact. I try not to have opinions on facts until they change, and he looks at the city below. It doesn't look like that's about to happen. It's more than that. There's some kind of affection in him, he says. You like the moral intern? Yes, I did. When I was younger, in my 20s, I considered myself a moralist. A blue forget-me-not, a piece of the sky, he quotes. They're not all that bad. But the years have changed that. I don't know what I believe in now, he thinks, and then changes his mind. No, I believe in the RCM. That's enough for me. Okay. I have an opinion on the moral intern. Do you? The lieutenant arches his brow, and then pulls on his cigarette. It's a slim white thing in his fingers. Okay, well, let's see what opinions we're gonna have. Also, I'm pretty sure we're not gonna die out here. Maybe. Hopefully. I don't know if I saved. Let's see. Things are bad out there. I'm gonna point to the city. I don't know if I'm gonna choose it, but anyway, I'm gonna point to the city. We need them here, giving us the right to police Revachol. Okay. Second one is they have done an awful job here. Have you seen the place? This isn't humanism. It's sort of well, it's not. Yeah, it's kind of complicated. It's not necessarily misplacing the blame, but it's the fact that you don't fix the problem. That just because you don't fix the problem, you're gonna go along with it doesn't mean you're the cause of the problem. It doesn't mean you're not, but it's just oversimplifying. Well, anyway, we are stooges of the world's biggest bourgeois organization, protecting bourgeois rights. Yeah, that's sort of more or less what you'd expect from this sort of. That's why I mentioned the status quo before. That's basically the acknowledgement of that reality. Just sort of maintaining the status quo is it's the hope of the people who are on top. Whenever you're in any situation, people who are on top want to keep being on top. Well, I guess it depends on the system. There's some theoretical systems where maybe that doesn't happen as much. I can mutter silently. Immigrants, liberal kipts, fucking men are turning into women. What? Oh, yeah, muttering silently. Why can't I just say it to his face? I wonder what he would say if I said that. And you could read something more into this. I think it depends. It depends a lot on what into this last line. I mean, men turning into women. It could be just me saying men are not strong anymore or something like that, or it could be just a transphobic statement. It could be homophobic and not even go as far as being transphobic. We have seen some aspects of this in the game. I don't know, but I suppose you could read that. I suppose it would be up to Kim to read into that line over there. On second thought, I don't have an opinion. Oh, forget about it. Oh, that wouldn't be the first time I chose this an option like that. Although this time around, I think there's a reason to go for not that. Let's go with this one. We are stooges of the world's biggest bourgeois organization, protecting bourgeois rights. And again, bourgeois is an interesting word as well, because it doesn't mean what it originally meant. Originally, it just meant actually people that traded, that commerce, and then it changed the meaning over the years. No, says Kim. We are stooges of the world's biggest bourgeois... Wait. He's repeating what I'm saying. Yeah. We're stooges of the world's biggest bourgeois organization, protecting the people of Revachol. That's the hand we were dealt. Without the MI... that's the moral intern, we would become vigilantes. Yeah. That's because the distinction is only in the paper. Maybe we should make our own law. Spoken like a revolutionary, Kim says, not a cop. But hypothetical aside, in Martinez we already are vigilantes. At least the Union thinks so. Yep. I expect our job here to prove quite challenging. He looks at the roundabout. I'm gonna say nothing and look into the night, see what happens. The dying lights of the city shimmer below, slowly, like luminous clouds. They pass on his lenses. The lieutenant looks at his slim cigarette, contemplating the next drag. This soldier, says our esprit de corps, is the highlight of the day for me, he thinks. Kim does. This little stick right here. Finally, he pulls on the cigarette and says, they really don't like us here. And the mouth of that kid, Kuno, or on that kid, Kuno, it's different inland, in Jamrock and the GRIH. Well, let's learn about that next episode, because we're out of time for today. So for right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Disco Elysium. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment, like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.